We are talking with Dr. L. Randall Wray, W-R-A-Y. He is a professor of economics at the University of Missouri at Kansas City, senior scholar at the Levy Economics Institute, the author of the book Modern Money Theory, and blogs at New Economic Perspectives, plural.org. And Dr. Wray, welcome back.
Hi.
So, to the question, you're suggesting that what we should be focusing on as a country is not how in debt we are or anything like that, but rather whether or not we are building for the future, whether we're building a nation that works and that will sustain itself through the future, if I'm paraphrasing correctly so far?
Yep.
Okay. And that even if we have to do significant deficit spending in order to accomplish that goal, that should be done. And a piece of doing that should be bringing the nation to full employment. You with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you respond to the people who say, okay, what you're talking about doing, and I'm guessing most of these people don't recall the history of Harry Truman and Dwight Eisenhower doing this exact same thing, but in any case, what you're suggesting doing, basically, quote, printing money, end quote, or creating money, and or borrowing money, actually, given the current way things are done, borrowing money and then spending it would put the nation deeper in debt, number one, burden our children, with hundreds of thousands of dollars of future debt. Every child born is born with a $30,000 debt. And number three, devalue, debase, and or inflate away the value of our currency. How do you respond to that?
Okay. Look at it this way. Really, at its basis, what modern money theory says is that we can afford to buy whatever is for sale in dollars. That's what we're saying. If you see unemployed labor out there, Uncle Sam can afford to put that labor to work. If you see...
No matter how much there is.
Yeah, no matter how much unemployment there is. And as long as what Uncle Sam does is he only puts the unemployed labor to work, he only puts the underutilized plant and equipment to work, the underutilized, paving machines to work, this is not going to cause inflation.
So it becomes problematic when the government starts competing with the private sector, but as long as the government is filling in the holes left by capitalism or left by the private sector, it doesn't affect monetary policy, or it doesn't have a monetary outcome.
Yeah, well, it doesn't have a price outcome.
Price outcome, okay.
Inflation. And here's the thing: when there are unemployed resources out there, the government is not competing with the private sector. The private sector has already said, we don't want to employ those things. And the second thing is the government can keep the price down on that stuff. It doesn't have to bid it up. It's bidding against itself. Mm-hmm. So there's no reason why the government would be raising the price of any of that stuff because there's no alternative. Either the government hires it or it's unhired.
Okay, and then it seems logical. I mean, looking at the experience of Truman and Eisenhower, who borrowed massively to build highways and schools and hospitals and put America back together, and thus massively expanded the tax base, the employment base, the GI Bill, for example, and those people paid taxes, and that paid down that national debt. Would not the outcome of what you're proposing, even though over the short term it would increase the national debt, and even though you don't think the national debt is a big deal, wouldn't it over the long term have the same outcome as it did after World War II of paying down the national debt? And would that be a good thing?
Yeah, sure. I mean, what happened after World War II is, of course, we had a baby boom. We had 3.7 kids per family. We had to prepare for that. We prepared for it by putting in place the public infrastructure that we would need. A lot of that's still there. It's starting to crumble. It's been a long time. It's been 2 generations now that we've had any attempt by the federal government to do something like that. And now what do we face? We face an aging society. We've got an aging boom instead of a baby boom. We need to prepare for that. We need to start getting ready right now in order to take care of our retiring seniors. And what are we doing instead? We're laying people off. We're, shutting down local government. We're saying we can't afford it anymore. We're doing exactly the wrong thing.
How does modern money theory approach Hamilton's 11-point plan for manufacturers, mercantilism, the Tudor plan, the idea that right now, if if a dollar is spent by the federal government to stimulate the economy, we put somebody to work building a bridge. That money only stays in the American economy for basically a cycle and a half or 2 cycles. As soon as it hits Walmart, it ends up in China.
Yeah. Well, I know that many people are scared about this. We're in hock to the Chinese and so on, but you have to step back and take the bigger picture view of this. We have a number of countries around the world that want to accumulate U.S. dollar financial assets. In a way, these are votes of confidence in the U.S. dollar. So we've got our nutty people running around here saying Uncle Ben is sparking hyperinflation, and the rest of the world saying, hey, we want a piece of the United States. Right. They're voting exactly the opposite way. And as long as these countries want to export to us in order to accumulate financial assets, we're getting the better part of that deal. Now, I know that the objection is that, but hold it a second, we've lost jobs to Chinese.
Well, no, so we've lost manufacturing infrastructure. We've lost the intellectual equity associated with it. People don't know how to make, anything from hard drives to steel tool, to tool and die, super 10,000th of a micron, all that stuff is gone. That they do that in Germany now, not here, or Italy.
But if the government played a leadership role, we would be putting those people back to work, and we could be the technology leaders. We could be the green tech leaders, not the Chinese.
So you're suggesting we don't need a mercantilist trade economy? Because, this is what the Chinese, the Taiwanese, the Germans, everybody's kind of bought into the NAFTA, GATT, WTO thing and dropped tariffs, but they're all using VAT taxes as reverse tariffs. They'll double the VAT tax on the import of goods, and they'll eliminate the VAT tax on the export of goods, which makes it, and we're doing none of that. We not only don't have tariffs, we don't have VAT taxes either, so we're not able to protect our exports and protect our domestic industries. Is there not a role for government to play in doing that, or is that completely outside the realm of money theory in any case, and it's another argument altogether?
Yeah, I think here we are getting into sort of development strategies that modern money theory by itself probably doesn't add much, except to say that anything for sale Uncle Sam can afford. And if we wanted Uncle Sam to play a leadership role, Uncle Sam has the money to play that role. The Chinese government is playing a leadership role in China, and you can see the success of that. We choose not to do it because we think we're broke. So what modern money theory says is that's crazy.
Right. And we chose to do it back in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, and we built the largest industrial economy that the world had ever seen.
That's right.
And how is it, and much of that was done under Republican administrations, how is it that modern, I don't want to make this hyper-partisan, but how is it that the people of that political party can look back at that history and not learn from it, and not say, gee, that worked out really well for Eisenhower, maybe we should try that again?
Well, I think that there is a great ignorance of how we did that. But I think that a lot of this it's boiled down to some fairly crazy politics and this idea that America has provided too strong of a social safety net, and that is making people lazy, and we need to get rid of the safety net. I mean, this goes against, I think, just about everything we know. If we look at Europe, they had a stronger safety net, especially in the north, and these countries have done much better than we have done in the past 30 years.
Well, this is Sir Francis Galt. I mean, this is Darwin's cousin, the British economist in the 19th century, who was decrying the British social safety net, saying that Darwin's theory of natural selection should be applied to economics, and we should do away with all social safety net programs to force people up from the bottom. Are we not seeing a modern version of that right now?
Yeah, and I'm not sure they even really believe it. If you go back to Reagan, you remember trickle down, and
Sure.
the argument was stuff trickled. No, no, cream rises to the top. So actually, when you remove government from the economy, you remove social protections. What happens is that everything rises to the top. You develop a two-class society where the upper class, we're talking about the top couple tenths of 1%, and then the rest of us. So that's what actually happens when you do that stuff.
And we're seeing this in the wealth distribution now in the United States. Just the stock market, for example, stock market just hit an all-time high. 50% of all the stock held in the United States is held by the top 1%. The bottom 50% of Americans in aggregate own less than 0.5% of all the stock. This is the consequence of conventional economics, it seems. How are we different since 1971? Are we playing by a completely different set of rules or just a slightly different set of rules?
Well, very different. We have pretty much destroyed labor unions, and that is a big piece of the puzzle.
Well, I was thinking of 71 being when the gold window closed. That's that's not the big one, though. Let's continue. We'll continue this conversation right after this.